Sometimes, the things that we think.
Said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light."
Amen. The state of complete, say with me, rest. Complete rest. What is rest? Doing anything that does not produce stress. A holy day dedicated to the Lord. Anyone who works on the Sabbath must be put to death. Ooh. Wow. That's harsh. The people of Israel must keep the Sabbath day by observing it from generation to generation. This is a covenant obligation for all time. It is a permanent sign of my covenant with the people of Israel. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, but on the 7th day he stopped working and was refreshed. I am glad, in a way, that this covenant was given only to the people of Israel. That they have to observe the Sabbath on a complete rest. And if they don't, he said, instead of having rest with peace, you will rest in peace. So it's your choice. No rest, they will send you to a place that you will rest in peace. But if we exercise and follow the principle of this command, that is to take the needed rest. Every single creation in this world requires rest. Do you know that even the lands that we cultivate, as farmers, also require some rest? God, made an instruction to the people of Israel that in every 7th year they should stop farming. They should let the land rest for 1 year so that it could recover. And do you know what happens when they did not do that? Famine came into the land. It comes back up. And even the year of Jubilee, every 50 years, he also asked them to take it to rest. There's that principle. God gave us a choice. Either we rest with peace or rest in peace. I hope that there's really peace. In fact, many of us are living lives that are overworked, overspent, and even overwhelmed. And the result is this: stress. Stress is not always bad. There are two things of stress. We call it the eustress, the stress that that triggers a fight and flight, the kind of stress that keeps us moving, alert. But there's another kind of stress called distress, that is the mother of all sickness in today's world. I look at some information about stress. They said that the #1 source of stress, anybody knows? It is the thing that you do from Monday to Friday. Work! Anybody here doesn't get stressed at work? Anybody here doesn't get stressed at work? #1 source of stress is work, especially the work that we don't like. If you're doing things that you don't like, you don't enjoy, you always drag your feet, and it causes you some stress. It is followed by money. What? Money? How come? I like money. No. It is so stressful if you don't have money. Right? Right, Joseph? The third one.
No money, no honey.
That's right, Brother Reinhard. That's why you have to make some more money. And I hope you're not being stressed. The third one, they said, because of stress. Children. Any children here in the house? maybe the first few months, it's stressful because you have to take care of them. You cannot find sleep. The moment you are trying to sleep, they're awake, and it keeps you awake. And the moment they become toddlers, they're always running all over the place. And you have to try to catch them. And then when they become teenagers, okay, let's just move on. I know it's making you stressful now. Children are a joy. But when we could not manage our children, for many it becomes stressful. The other one that most people have stress is when they have health problems, especially when the health are deteriorating. And many people too find their marriages also stressful. Anybody here are stressed in their marriage? Thank God you're not. But a lot of people, they find their marriage stressful, especially when they're drifting apart. No wonder statistics says that every 2 marriages, 1 is divorced. Because when there is no unity and harmony, stress comes in. And lastly, they said the number 1 source of their stresses, parents! Not only children, right? Kids, are you stressed with your parents? Huh? Do this, do that. Come home early. Look up late. Don't spend money. Get computer grades. A lot of pressure sometimes. Have you been in a situation in your home that you are so stressed, going home, that you almost don't want to go home? Okay, somebody. I know, it's true because and this is what majority of people experiences. And I know many of us as well. We've been there. We have done that. And that's why we're talking about it. Because these are the realities of life. And the reality of life is that we will experience stress. Because not everything that will happen in our lives are the things that we like, are the things that we plan for, are the things that we are expecting. There will be many unexpected things, unlikely things, unlovely things that will come in our lives through people, through friends, through relationships, through circumstances that will cause us to be stressed. And that's why we need some rest. 43% of all adults suffer adverse health effects due to stress. Almost half of adults, people in this world, are sick because of unmanaged stress. 75 to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians are stress-related complaints or disorder, hypertension, diabetes, to name a few. You know why diabetes? Because you start eating comfort food to relieve some of your stress. We try to go to certain foods, eat unhealthy, because we are so stressed out. Stress has been linked to all leading causes of death, including heart disease, cancer, lung ailments, even accidents, cirrhosis, and even suicide. Yes, many, especially our young people, contemplate of harming themselves because they are restless. Job stress is estimated to cost the U.S. industry about $300 billion annually. That's the amount of loss because of stress due to absenteeism, diminished productivity, employee turnover, and even medical insurances. It causes us, and we loses if we don't have the rest that we need. That's why Jesus said this in the book of Matthew 11. When we find ourselves stressed, restless, tired, weary, and all of us experiences that, He said, come to me. Don't go to somewhere else. The secret to finding rest is not going to another place. It's not going to another relationships. It's not going to another time, but coming into the presence of Jesus. And he said, and I will give you rest. It is not your friends that will give you rest. It is not your employers, your parents, your children, your job, your vacation place that will give you rest. In fact, many of us take vacations, and after coming back, we need a vacation for our vacation. You're so stressed out of how you will pay all the bills that you have just accumulated, swiping your card all over the place. It is only Jesus could give us the genuine rest that our soul and spirit needed. And there's a reason why we need this rest. There's a reason why God told the people of Israel to become an example to all believers in the world. Yes, you may work for 5 days, 6 days, but do not forget to rest. On the 7th day, that you should rest, because even God himself rested. Not because he get tired, because God didn't get tired, but he did it as an example of all of us. And he made that day holy, and he got refreshed. Do you know if you have actually rested properly? The moment you wake up, the moment you came back from it, you feel refreshed. You are saying that you can go another day. You can fight another battle. You can run another race. That's why we need this rest. And the reason why God told us to rest, because it is a declaration of his provision. It was meant for God to give God the opportunity to provide for you, for us, supernaturally. Most of us, especially those who are 2 or 3 jobs, I've known some people, they will have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, almost no more days off, because they're trying to save money, to accumulate things, for the needs of their house, or their household, or their family, that they find themselves working and no longer resting. But when we rest, we're giving God the opportunity to provide for us supernaturally. An example of this in Exodus chapter 16, chapter 4, verse 16, where the people of Israel were given manna to gather only enough each day. But on the 6th day, they were told to gather twice. Because on the 7th day, there will be no manna, there will be no provision. No matter how hard you try to gather, you will not get anything. Because that is the time of rest. Amen. God is not going to provide on the 7th day. No matter how hard you try, and you will just gather none. When it comes to this, it always reminds me of the story of Chick-fil-A. Anybody here know about Chick-fil-A? It is the only fast food chain that I know that is not open on Sundays. Bakit Taco too. Maybe they're Christian as well. And for most businesses, they remain open on the weekends, especially on Sundays, because that's where Christians eat out. Like you and me, right? Where we're going to be. And most of their sales often are highest and biggest on the weekends, especially on Sundays. It's been said that a typical fast food chain in the U.S. has about 1 million per year of sales. And they are open from Monday to Sunday, 7 days a week. Chick-fil-A is only open for 6 days, and they're closed on Sundays. But yet, their revenue, their sales is 4 times as $4.4 million. 4 times as a typical fast food chain, because they believe that God is better in providing our needs. Chick-fil-A is owned by a devoted Southern Baptist. I believe his name is Samuel. I love that name. Samuel Cady. And he believed that that day is a day for his people to find their rest, especially in God. When we rest, especially today, this is our Sabbath. This is our time of rest. As people, as humans, we are not just bodies. We have a soul and a spirit. In fact, we are spirits with body. When we sleep, we give our bodies some rest. Make sure that you sleep at least 7 hours. Especially young people. You know, I was reading this book by Dr. forgot his first name, Daniel Amen. And I've been reading his book, and he's a neuroscientist, a neurosurgeon, and he said that many people neglect to take care one of the most important organs in their bodies. They take care of their muscles, they go to gym, they take care of their stomach, they don't eat the right food, which is good. But many do not take care of their brains. And he said, one of the biggest things that help us to keep our brains healthy is when we give it at least 7 hours of sleep. So kids, do not binge on television or talk too long, because it will cause you brain damage. Yes, that's true. When we look at the brain scans of people who are, abusing themselves through addictions, alcohols, pornography, or lack of sleep, some portions of their brains are not lighting up. It is not growing, it is damaged because of lack of sleep. Do you know that our bodies recover when we are sleeping? It is the time that we give our body to clean itself from toxins, to repair the tissues that are damaged during the day. And if we are not giving it time to rest, not only the entire body is affected, but even our brains. There was an experiment done in World War II by the Nazi armies, by Adolf Hitler. And they took some prisoners, some people, and they put it in a place where there's always light, and in an atmosphere where they are not allowed to sleep. So the light is always on, there's always some noise, and when they're falling asleep, they would just wake them up. And after a week or even weeks of that state without any sleep, do you know what happened to those people? They become like zombies. They lost their sanity because it is damaging their brain. The reason why we rest, because it allows God to provide for our needs. You could have been somewhere else today. You could be just working today and making more money. But God can provide all our needs by resting our soul and spirit in His presence. And there's a consequence if we do not rest. In Numbers chapter 15, verse 22 to 36, it talks about an Israelite who was found gathering wood on a Sabbath day, and he was sentenced to death. Though in today's standard that is very harsh and we don't do it anymore. No, we don't stone people who doesn't go to church and they were working. No, we don't do that. But the principle is this: if you do not rest, you are killing yourself. You are harming yourself. In fact, there are 4 offenses in the Bible, in the Old Testament, that are punishable by death. The The first one is murder. We understand. You know, if you kill somebody, you took life will also be taken. But there are also three other things in the Old Testament where there's a capital punishment. Second one is adultery. Third one, rebellious children. Children, are you here? Yes, back then, there's no mercy. You are rebellious, you're dead. They just call, the morality police. Hey, my kid is rebellious. He did not go home last night. And when they confronted him, and then he died. And the third one is this: not keeping the Sabbath. The last three, we try to normalize it as okay today. But when it comes to the principle of rest, many people are harming themselves by not finding the rest not only for their bodies, but also for their soul and spirit. And lastly, there is a blessing when we find our rest in God. In the book of Genesis, when God rested from all His work, He blessed it and got refreshed. There are several instances in the Bible that Jesus even healed on the Sabbath day. Yes, when we rest, we will also find their healing. You will find healing and restoration on the day of rest. And the day of rest was meant to provide the needs of God's people. It is also the day when you will experience this refreshing restoration of your soul when you rest in the Lord your God. Amen. How many of you are now feeling restful today? Isaiah chapter 13 verse 15 says this: This is what the sovereign Lord, the Holy One of Israel says, only in returning to me and resting in me will you be saved. In quietness and confidence is your strength, but you will have none of it because you don't want to rest in the Lord. I would like to close this message today by telling you the story of what happened to King David. And his story, you can find it in 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 6. And prior to this, everyone was familiar with King David, right? David is said to be, as the Bible calls him, the man after God's own heart. He's the one who wrote most of the book of Psalms. He's a worshiper, a good-looking man. He was anointed, when he was a teenager to become a king. And then from that time on, God's favor and presence was with him. While the people of Israel are being taunted, being bullied by the Philistines, especially the giant named Goliath. Even King Saul was so coward, he could not face it. They made a challenge that whoever fights me and defeats me, they will win the battle. Nobody, not single one of the trained and veteran soldiers of Israel dared to face this Goliath. But it only took David, a young man, a shepherd, who has no experience in war. He only fought bears and lions with his slingshots. But because the Lord is with him, he was able to defeat Goliath. And we know the story. And from then on, he became famous. He even married one of the daughters of King Saul. He even went to the palace, and he had followings. But on 1 Samuel chapter 30, when the Amalekites attacked the cities of Israel and captured their children, their sons, their daughters, their women, when David came together with his army and found out that the city has been burned, destroyed, Many, in fact, almost every single soldier in his command, grieved, cried, and angry. King of David, who was their hero, now they look at him as a zero. They tried to stone him. They were thinking of stoning him. And David, knowing the fact that his people now, his army is turning against him, not to mention his king, King Saul, who was envious of his successes, is also trying to kill him. What would you do? You will be stressed, isn't it? 1 Samuel 30 verse 6 says, Now David was greatly distressed, and rightly so, of all of this going on. Imagine, you were called the man after God's own heart. You served God faithfully, followed everything that He has commanded to you. And now there's a situation in your life that is causing people around you to turn against you. And even the men and the people you're serving are also turning against you. Stress is there. And if we are there, if we are David in that moment, what will be your reaction? What will be your response? Perhaps many of us would just, okay, I quit. I surrender. Okay, the army is yours. The ministry is yours. I don't want to do it anymore. Right? Stressful. Restless. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But here's what David did. But David strengthened himself in the Lord. Instead of staying on the stressful situation, he found his rest in the presence of God. He strengthened himself in God. I know all of us, we all get tired, don't we? We all get stressed. There are situations in our life, but at the point, we want to give up. We want to run away. But do you know, in this chapter, in this moment of David's life, this was his turning point. This is the turning point that the promise of God for him to be king happened. This is the trial and the testing for him to receive the promises of God that he will become king of Israel. He waited for years for that to happen, but it was his turning point. The moment that he was so stressful, the moment that every single man that he commands and leads turn against him, the moment that even the one is serving is trying to kill him, he is all by himself, but he is not alone. He strengthened himself in God. And when you are distressed and you find your rest in God, you will be given direction. Oftentimes, we make decisions out of our emotions, right? We make decisions based on our tiredness, our weariness, and what we feel. But no, what David did, he went to the presence of the Lord. He asked for a praise to give him an effort, and asked God for direction. When you are distressed, God will give you His direction on what to do next when you find your rest in God. And it is his turning point. It is the time that God changed his life from the field to the palace. I know some of us who are here today or maybe watching, you are at your turning point. You are at the point that you feel too weary, too tired, too stressed to move on, to continue on the call of God in your life. And you have contemplated, you know what? I'm done. But no, God is not done. All we have to do is to find our rest in God. Come to me, you who are tired and heavily laden,